There are moments when life changes direction without making a sound. Nothing happens in a spectacular way. There is no big announcement. There isn't a flashing sign saying that a new phase has begun. The transformation happens quietly. First, the way you think changes, then the decisions you make start to change. Only then does the world around you begin to respond differently. And that's exactly the feeling that surrounds your month of August. When analyzing the energies surrounding this period, one question stood out above all the others. What is your life trying to show you that you still insist on ignoring? This question may seem simple, but it explains much of what many Aries people have experienced in recent months. You spent a lot of time trying to find answers to problems that seem to have no solution. You thought about the same situation countless times, replayed conversations in your own head, imagined different scenarios, tried to predict other people's behavior, and planned alternatives. Even so, in many moments, it felt like your mind never shut off. Interestingly, the exhaustion didn't always come from the events themselves. It came from trying to control what still didn't depend on you. August begins by proposing exactly the opposite. Instead of spending spiritual energy trying to solve everything at once, you will be led to realize that some answers appear precisely when we make space for them to arrive. This doesn't mean giving up, much less sitting back and doing nothing. It means understanding that there is a huge difference between taking action and carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. There is another detail that deserves attention. Lately, you may have felt a growing need to change your surroundings. Not because you were exactly unhappy where you are, but because something inside you started longing for new air. It's like when we stay too long in the same room and without realizing it, stop noticing how heavy it has become. All it takes is opening a window to realize the air needed to circulate. This is exactly the image that comes up for the beginning of August. Your spiritual energy is asking for movement. This could be through a walk, a short trip, an outing, or simply by spending more time in places where there is nature, silence, and tranquility. These seemingly simple moments will have a much greater effect than you imagine, because while the body slows down, the mind is finally able to reorganize thoughts that were tangled. And when that happens, important decisions start to emerge with much more clarity. Another point draws a lot of attention. There is a project that has never completely left your heart. Maybe it was set aside due to lack of money, lack of time, insecurity, or because other priorities took its place. But the truth is, it never disappeared, it just remained dormant. Now, there is a very strong tendency for this desire to resurface. Maybe not exactly in the same way, maybe with new goals, new possibilities, new people involved, but it returns. And when that happens, try not to dismiss it right away thinking it's not the right time. Before you say no to life, ask yourself whether that no comes from reality or from fear, because there is a huge difference between impossibility and apprehension. I also notice an important change in the way you see your own story. It's common that at certain moments, that question arises, the one almost everyone has asked at least once: what if I had chosen a different path? Maybe a different profession, a different city, a different relationship, a different opportunity. These thoughts come up because experience allows us to see things that years ago we still couldn't understand. The problem starts when we turn these memories into a sentence, when we believe that the past has definitively determined what we are still able to experience. But August seems to bring a different answer. Instead of looking only at what was left behind, you will start to notice how many possibilities remain open before you. Not all of them will be like the opportunities that have passed. Some will be completely different, and precisely because of that, they may bring about results you never imagined. A sense of maturity is being born during this period. Not that heavy kind of maturity that hardens the heart, but the kind that teaches an important truth. Not everything that didn't happen was a loss. Some doors needed to remain closed so that others, much more aligned with who you have become, could appear at the right moment. And perhaps this is the main message at the start of August. You are not being called to relive the past. You are being prepared to recognize opportunities that this time you will be much more ready to seize. There is an aspect of your month that may be more important than any specific prediction. It is not directly related to money, love, or work. It is related to the way you make decisions. For a long time, you may have felt that you needed to solve everything on your own. Whenever a problem arose, your first reaction was to take responsibility, look for a way out, consider all the possibilities, and try to find a solution even before the situation had fully developed. This attitude shows strength, but it can also turn into a huge drain when it is used all the time. There are situations that really depend on our initiative, but there are others that need to mature before any action is taken. August begins by showing exactly this difference. You will realize that some answers do not come because you insisted more, but because you knew how to wait for the right moment to act. This change in attitude will lessen an emotional burden that you may not have even realized you were carrying. At the same time, another movement begins to gain strength. Something that seemed to have been left behind for good starts to occupy space in your thoughts again. Not necessarily because the past is returning, but because you have matured enough to see that situation from another perspective. It could be a project that was interrupted, a change that never happened, a postponed trip, a course that remained just a wish, or even a professional dream that was set aside because you believed there was no more time. The difference is that now you don't look at this with frustration. You begin to analyze concrete possibilities. It's like someone who spends years staring at a closed door and suddenly realizes there's a completely different entrance right next to it. The opportunity may not be exactly what you imagined in the past, but it could take you precisely to the place you've always wanted to reach. There is also an important transformation happening in the way you evaluate your own choices. Many Aries people carry a heavy burden of self-expectation. When something doesn't happen as expected, the tendency is to think that you could have done more, chosen better, or noticed certain signs earlier. This kind of reflection can even be useful when it leads to learning, but it becomes dangerous when it feeds a permanent sense of guilt. August shows that you will begin to let go of this burden, not because you will stop recognizing your own mistakes, but because you will understand that no decision was made with the knowledge you have today. Each choice belonged to the moment in which it was made. Continuing to judge the past with the experience gained years later only prolongs a suffering that no longer brings any growth. This awareness brings a much greater sense of freedom than it seems. Another area that tends to stand out involves your plans for the future. You will notice a much greater need to build stability than to seek quick results. This represents a significant change, especially for someone who usually enjoys movement, challenges, and immediate answers. Instead of wanting to solve your whole life in just a few days, you will start thinking about structures that can stand for many years. This change influences practically everything: finances, career, personal projects, and even relationships. You will start asking different questions. Instead of thinking only about what brings immediate satisfaction, you will begin to reflect on what is truly worth building. This new perspective will make some opportunities stop seeming interesting, while others previously ignored will start to catch your attention. There is still a detail that deserves a lot of attention. Some people around you might find this change in attitude strange. Those who have always known an impulsive Aries, decisive and ready to act immediately, might interpret this new phase as indecision, but that's not what's happening. What changes is the quality of your decisions. You stop acting solely on the emotion of the moment and start to notice consequences that previously went unnoticed. This doesn't diminish your courage. On the contrary, it makes your choices much smarter. At many different times, you'll come to realize that saying "not yet" can be much more impactful than saying yes, just so you don't miss an opportunity. In the end, August seems to want to teach us an extremely valuable lesson. Growing doesn't always mean speeding up. In many cases, growing means choosing more carefully where to invest your spiritual energy. Eventually, you will come to realize that you don't need to join every single discussion, solve every problem, or accept every responsibility just to prove your worth. There is a huge difference between simply being busy and moving in the right direction. And when that difference finally becomes clear, many decisions stop feeling so heavy. They start to make sense. It's precisely at this point that your spiritual energy begins to shift, making room for, if there's one area where August promises to bring noticeable changes for you, it's your professional and financial life. But before talking about opportunities, I want to draw your attention to a detail that often goes unnoticed. Many people believe that prosperity depends only on earning more money. In reality, it starts much earlier than that. It is born when we are able to organize our priorities, see clearly what truly matters, and stop wasting spiritual energy on paths that have already proven to lead nowhere. It's exactly this kind of reorganization that begins to happen in your life. You'll notice that some financial decisions that once seemed impossible start to make sense, while expenses that used to seem essential no longer hold the same importance. It's not about giving up what you enjoy, but about building a more solid foundation so that the future is less unstable and much more peaceful. This shift in mindset can bring very positive consequences for those seeking professional growth. There is a tendency for opportunities to arise that at first may seem too small or even far from what you had imagined. It's precisely at this point that you'll need to look beyond appearances. Not every important door comes with grand announcements. Some begin as a simple conversation, a recommendation, a job opening that almost went unnoticed, or an invitation made unexpectedly. What sets apart those who seize these opportunities from those who remain in the same place is the ability to recognize potential where most people see only something ordinary. That's why, during this period, it's worth paying attention to the contacts that come up, the people who cross your path, and the conversations you might not normally consider important. A single well-seized opportunity can yield much greater results than months of planning without action. For those who are already employed or developing their own project, August favors a strengthening of their professional image. This does not necessarily mean an immediate promotion or salary increase, although these outcomes are not out of the question. The main shift happens in the way people begin to perceive your work. Your commitment, your ability to solve problems, and your attitude in the face of challenges tend to attract more attention. In many instances, this process unfolds very quietly. You might even start to think that no one is noticing your hard work and effort, but someone is definitely watching. And when you least expect it, this recognition could open up doors that today still seem out of reach. This is a vital period to continue doing your best in what is up to you, even when the final results are not yet fully visible. Some seeds take longer to sprout, but precisely because of that, they tend to bear more lasting fruit. At the same time, there is an important lesson involving money. You will start to realize that financial stability doesn't depend only on how much comes in, but also on how you manage what you have. Perhaps an unexpected expense will arise or an investment that needs to be made. Instead of seeing this as a setback, try to analyze the full context. There are expenses that represent a loss, but there are others that serve as preparation for something greater. The difference between one and the other lies in what they build for the future. This period favors more conscious choices and a long-term vision. You tend to let go of the need to solve everything immediately in order to build something that truly lasts. This attitude will reduce your anxiety and allow you to make financial decisions with much more confidence. Another aspect that deserves attention involves your relationship with the people around you. Not everyone will be able to keep pace with your personal growth, and this may cause a certain level of discomfort. Some people will remain stuck indefinitely in the same complaints, the same fears, and the same old habits, while you will start to look for entirely different solutions. It is natural for this to cause a silent distancing, not because there is conflict, but because interests no longer move in the same direction. Understand that maturing also means accepting that not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some are part of a specific stage in our story and fulfill their role at that moment. When that cycle ends, insisting on keeping everything exactly as it was only makes it harder for new connections, more aligned with who you are becoming, to emerge. There is also an interesting detail that runs through your entire month, the feeling that something is being prepared behind the scenes. Not everything will be immediately clear. Some changes will happen out of your sight before they manifest in practice. It's just like when a tree spends several weeks strengthening its deep roots before the very first tiny sprouts finally appear on the surface. Anyone looking only from the outside believes that absolutely nothing at all is happening, but beneath the ground there is incredibly intense and vital work being done. Something similar happens in your life. Even on days when it seems like everything remains the same, important processes will be underway. People will be making decisions, opportunities will be created, and circumstances will begin to align in ways that you still can't fully see today. That's why you shouldn't let impatience make you abandon a path that is just starting to yield results. Some of this month's greatest achievements will come precisely from your ability to keep moving forward with discipline, confidence, and patience, even before you see all the answers in front of you. There is an aspect of August that perhaps few people will be able to notice in the first few days. While many will be concerned only with what is happening on the outside, you will begin to experience a much more important shift within. It's as if little by little some old certainties stop making sense. Situations that once seemed indispensable will gradually lose their strength, while others, which went unnoticed for a long time, will take on a completely different meaning. This inner change will be responsible for much of the decisions you will make in the coming weeks. And the more you respect this transformation, the more you will realize that it hasn't come to take something away from you, but to make room for a more mature version of your own story. In the realm of relationships, August invites you to pay less attention to words and more to actions. People don't always show their true intentions in the way we would like. Some promise a lot and deliver little. Others say little, but are there when it really matters. During this period, your perception will become much sharper in identifying this difference. You may start to notice behaviors that previously went unnoticed. Perhaps someone will reveal an attitude that makes you reconsider the space they occupy in your life. On the other hand, those quiet and discreet individuals who have never sought attention may surprise you in a very positive way. August teaches us that trust is not born from words alone. It is constructed and maintained through consistency, respect, and the harmonious alignment between what someone says and what they actually do. For those in a romantic relationship, this will be a period of observation and personal growth. Instead of hastily jumping to conclusions at any change in behavior, try to understand the full context before forming a definitive opinion on the matter. Not every silence means distance, nor does every change in routine signify a lack of interest. In the same way, do not ignore signs that keep repeating themselves. The key to balance lies in not fostering unfounded suspicion, but also not turning a blind eye to what becomes evident over time. The strongest relationships tend to come out of this process even stronger because they are built on honest conversations and a willingness to address what truly needs to be resolved. Meanwhile, bonds maintained solely by appearances may uncover certain weaknesses that were previously hidden. Those who are single will experience a phase entirely different from what they originally envisioned a few months ago. Instead of looking for someone just to fill a void, you tend to value much more the connections that happen naturally. There is a huge difference between feeling attracted to someone and seeing in that person the potential to build something lasting. August helps you make exactly this distinction. You may meet interesting people, enjoy pleasant moments, and awaken feelings that had been dormant, but there will also be a greater sense of selectivity. The tendency will be to stop investing time in relationships that require excessive effort to work. You will realize that reciprocity should not be an exception. It needs to be the foundation of any bond that is meant to last over time. Another important aspect involves your physical and emotional health. After a period in which worries took up much of your spiritual energy, August favors a gradual recovery of balance. This does not mean that all problems will automatically disappear, but it indicates that you will start dealing with them in a much healthier way. Rest will no longer be seen as a waste of time. Taking care of your body will become more important. The quality of your sleep, diet, and routine will begin to directly influence your emotional state. Small changes made consistently will produce much greater results than radical solutions, which would hardly be maintained for long. Your body will give clear signs when it is overloaded. Listening to it will be a sign of intelligence, not weakness. Before I finish this forecast, there is a reflection I consider essential. Many people believe that major changes only happen when something truly extraordinary completely transforms their lives overnight. In practice, it rarely works that way. The deepest transformations usually arise from seemingly simple decisions. Letting go of a harmful habit, revisiting a forgotten project, saying no when you used to say yes out of obligation, choosing people who bring peace instead of conflict, and trusting more in your own inner ability to build a different future. August does not promise a perfect life. While no single month could ever truly do that, it offers something perhaps even more valuable. The opportunity to see your path more clearly, to act with much greater awareness, and to realize that many of the answers you are searching for in the world outside have always depended, first and foremost, on the choices made within yourself. When this understanding finally takes hold, the future stops seeming like a daunting unknown and instead transforms into a space full of possibilities, just waiting for your next decision.